Hi there. I just wanted to talk a little bit about 9/11. It's been 10 years, and I know there's so much going on in the news and the media, and I don't really watch the news very often. I read most of any kind of news that I might get online. I count on my friends, honestly, and just picking up on general knowledge of what's going on. That said, I do try to look outside of what I hear too, because if I hear something, I want to research it. So anyhow, 9/11, my girls were 1, 3, and 5, and honestly, I didn't watch the news that much then either. So I was watching a lot of Clifford, PBS, things like that, a lot of VHS tapes during that time, and my family knew that I didn't watch the news that often. So I do remember getting up that morning and turning on the TV, flipping the stations, flipping through a news station and seeing the image of the buildings, maybe a plane going into the building, something like that. But then flipping right through it, honestly, I had no idea. I just thought that it was a movie that I was flipping through. I did not realize that it was actually real. So that said, I just, I went about my morning, and it was probably about 9 o'clock, and my dad called me, and he asked if I had turned on the news that day. I told him, no, I had turned it on and flipped over to Arthur or whatever was on, and he's like, you need to watch the news, and he then explained what was going on. So I immediately flipped over to the station and remember watching it, and soon after, then one of my closest friends called me, and we talked a lot about what then we saw what was going to happen. We just envisioned from the East Coast to the West Coast, the entire nation just being bombed and bombarded, because instantly you start to think we as a nation have had it so fortunate that we haven't had to deal within our memories of war being on this land, in this soil. So especially living in the Midwest, our war just might be political. So thankfully, I look back and I think that so thankful that my dad called. I wonder how long could I have gone throughout the day without knowing that this was going on in the world. It probably would have been when my friend called me. And then the next memory that I have after that is going to pick up my daughter from kindergarten. There were a lot of parents who chose to pick up their kids from school because of that fear of something going on outside of our control, and we wanted our kids to be home and safe. But there were a lot of us too that we didn't. We went and we picked up our kids. I guess when there's tragedy or anything horrible, you almost want to keep going throughout your day. If you do what you've always done, then nothing bad can happen. So, thankfully nothing else did happen. But that's my memory, of just my dad and my friend and picking up my daughter. And the phone lines, actually, I can remember picking up the phone. And, I didn't have a cell phone, actually, up until a couple years ago. And picking up the phone and there being a pause between the lines and not knowing if the phones were even going to connect. It was a very spooky feeling. And the silence, wow, I guess there are things I remember. The silence. I live really close to the train tracks, and I also live close to about 10 miles away from an airport. So, nothing was being run during those times. There were no trains, there were no airplanes, and you don't realize how much noise is going on throughout the day. Even the trucks that might be, taking cargo from one place to the next. So the silence too. So that's my memory, and thankfully that we are here, and I've tried not to let myself fall into the fear of the unknown, fear of people, fear of what if. So I'm just thankful that we've had a peaceful, semi-peaceful nation since, and that I get to live with my friends and my family the best way that I know possible each day, to try to be aware and loving in the moments that I do. So peace to everyone, and love.